You are listening to the Fire Rescue Athlete Podcast with your host, Aaron Zamzow.
Hey everybody, Aaron Zamzow here from the Fire Rescue Athlete Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Today is all about food and nutrition. I have been researching and reading on some articles about nutrition, and I kind of have been reviewing a lot of stuff over the last couple months, and I'm actually surprised that I've never done this article yet or podcast, and it's regarding the 10 best foods for firefighters, EMTs, and medics. My blog post on this was actually called the 10 best foods for first responders, but I've done a lot of research, done a lot of articles, and I'm trying to do more with nutrition because I know it's such a confusing thing for everybody. It is for me too, and I like to consider myself pretty well versed in the topic. But with all the different research that comes out, and there's all these fad diets, and there's new food products, it can get confusing, can get overwhelming. And so, again, I'm surprised I haven't done this one, and I'm actually excited to talk a little bit about why I came up with these 10 foods and what they are. So let's dive right into it. First and foremost, thanks for tuning into the podcast. If you like what you're hearing, please comment. If you don't like what you're hearing, please comment. If you have any insight whatsoever, please, spread the word, leave some comments. And I think we can all grow just based off comments and spread the word that, first and foremost, we as firefighters, EMTs, and medics got to look at our nutrition differently. The foods that we choose throughout the course of a day and, even before the day before our shift can really determine how we perform and even how we think during a shift and during calls. And I don't think a lot of us grasp that, especially if you look at the diets that we see in the firehouses. Now, I'm a cook in the firehouse quite often, and I know it's probably one of the more challenging jobs you have because, you could cook something healthy, you're going to hear about that. If you cook something fat, if you don't cook enough of it, you're going to hear about it as well. So you have to try to, and you also have 10, in some cases 6, in some cases 4, depending upon the size of your crew. You got all those different taste buds. So it can be challenging. And so that's why I wanted to really do this article, because here are some foods that you can start to incorporate in that will, kind of help keep us healthy, number one, and help us make better decisions on the fire ground and help us perform better. So ultimately, the biggest message that I want you to take from this is that you have to think about your nutrition a little bit differently than, I pick on accountants or an insurance salesman or whatever, but their performance physically does not determine whether they live or die. And, it's a real in-your-face comment, but it really can be true. And this goes for volunteers. It doesn't matter whether you're volunteer, on-call paid, or full-time. When you're going to that call, it doesn't matter. You got to be ready physically. You got to be ready mentally. And these 10 foods are going to help you do that. They're going to help you with your performance. They're going to help with recovery. So let's dive into them. The list was actually chosen based off of, what we need. We need energy. We need good, clean energy. And we also need nutrients, a lot of vitamins, a lot of minerals to help us with recovery. And I took stress into consideration here, especially during, when I'm doing this podcast. This is during the pandemic, the lasting pandemic, and stress levels are a little bit higher. So let's dive into it. First and foremost, the number one food that I have on here, and these aren't in any particular order, berries, blackberries, raspberries, blueberries. They have a lot of antioxidants, I should say, and phytochemicals that can really help us with the oxidative stress that occurs during our body. During workouts, your cells break down. During stressful shifts and calls, your cells break down. And berries have the phytochemicals and antioxidants that can help you build back up, and they basically protect you. One thing to remember about berries too, the darker the better. So blackberries are great, blueberries are good, raspberries are okay, strawberries are okay. But, typically the darker they have, the more phytochemicals and antioxidants they have within them. And frozen is actually not so bad. A lot of times what people forget is that, the fruits are frozen at, their optimal timing. So what they usually have the most antioxidants when they freeze them. And I like to use frozen. I use them in a post-workout shake that I have a little mix. I use Silver Star Nutrition has some great, very, very clean protein products. And they have been actually very, very supportive of what we're doing here with FRF. So I like to use the berries into a shake. So berries, the darker the better. Vegetables are number two on this particular list. And it kind of goes back to why we have berries on the list. Obviously, vegetables are full of vitamins. They are full of minerals that your body needs for optimal performance. Now, here too, darker leafy greens are better for you. Broccolis, Brussels sprouts, kales are good. Cauliflower is also on the list. Now, that's not dark, but cauliflower actually holds its own when you compare it to the darker vegetables with antioxidant value. So, here again, you're looking at a food that, kale is good, spinach is good, broccoli is good. Even beans and peas are good for you. The reason why, the kales and stuff are a little bit better, they have a little bit more fiber in them, and they have more flavonoids in them too, which are just more powerful antioxidants. But, let's just look at this as, take a step back. We talked about fruits. We talked about vegetables. The darker, the better, because they have more valuable nutrients in them. But the reason we have them is, A, they give us a little bit of energy, but B, they really help provide the nutrients, vitamins and minerals that we need for stress and for recovery. So, one is these dark berries, two is these dark vegetables. So that's why they are on the list. Next is chicken, mainly for its source of protein. Protein is really, really good to help us rebuild muscles, promote recovery, especially after these tough shifts and workouts. Chicken is very lean. Chicken is very convenient. It has a lot of protein in it. And again, you can use it so many different things. You can use it in chilies. You can use it on salads. You can use it in entrees. But chicken is really good because of its protein content, and it's lean because it doesn't have a lot of fat. So, the more protein you have, the better off from a standpoint of helping your muscles recover, giving yourself the building blocks to continually build muscle. So chicken is on the list for its protein value. Beans and legumes are also on this list. They have higher value of protein. They're not as good as poultry, but they're a vegetarian source of protein. When you look at, if you compare it to chicken, chicken's got more value per ounce than beans do. But beans will have no saturated fat. They also are a great source of fiber, which can make you feel fuller. So far, let me just kind of run down. We've talked about minerals, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, protein, and fiber. And really, the foods that we're talking about all contain those things. Fiber is really good because it helps with, combat a lot of cancers. It helps you feel full, and it's good for cholesterol levels. The antioxidants are great for recovery and stress. The vitamins and minerals are good for that as well, and also to help us, with performance. And then protein is good to build muscle and help with recovery. So I think you can kind of see the theme here. Beans and legumes are a great source of a vegetarian-based protein, and they're very, very versatile. You can use them in salads. You can use them in entrees. You can even throw them on top of some chicken if you'd like, if you are not vegetarian. So they're really endless with, the varieties and the possibilities. So beans and legumes are on the list. And I probably have messed up how you pronounce legumes. Salmon. Now, salmon is a great source of lean protein, which we talked about with chicken. But what salmon brings to the table is omega-3 fatty acids. Now, these fatty acids are actually linked to reducing inflammation. And again, inflammation is your body's reaction to stress. And we are under a lot of stress, whether it's physical stress or mental stress. The omega-3s in salmon can help combat that. And it's really been linked to reducing the inflammation. Now, inflammation can cause joint pain. Inflammation can cause cloudy brains. Inflammation can actually lead to diabetes. Inflammation can lead to fat gain. All these different things, which is why salmon is really good. And salmon is versatile as well. You can throw it on salads. You can throw it in pastas around the firehouse. You can grill it. You can actually make salmon burgers, which are real popular because they're quick, convenient, and they taste great. But you should try to at least get 8 ounces a week of salmon, if not more servings per week of fish that contain this omega-3 fatty acid. Bananas. Bananas are on the list because they're an excellent source of electrolytes, which we need to replace after long calls and shifts and workouts. They got only about 100 calories, and it's really easy to digest sugar. Natural electrolytes that we talked about. It's a great energy source for us, especially, the other thing I like about bananas is that they're convenient. You can carry them on in a little bag, keep them on the truck with you. So if you got a long call, you're on a long fire call or a long EMS call or extrication, when you're done, you can pop that banana in, maybe throw some nuts with it, what we'll talk about next. But they also contain potassium, which your body needs to help regulate fluids, which can prevent some muscle cramps and spasms. Because during these calls, you're sweating. So bananas, again, convenient. They have good nutrient value, and they're great for post-workout. They're great for a long call. And then, I just mentioned nuts. Nuts are on this list. Personally, I think almonds are a little bit better for us. But, at this point, any type of nut is pretty good for you. You just got to watch out. Nuts can add a lot of calories really quickly. I'm not a fan of cashews because they go down so well, and because you wind up eating about 1,000 calories of them before you know it. I like to stick to almonds. They are a great source of protein and healthy fats. Some have a little bit of carbohydrate with it, but they're easy to digest. A lot of times, the almonds are easier out of all of them, but they also have fiber, and they have vitamin E in them, and all of which are work for anti-inflammatory purposes in our body. And we talked about inflammation a little bit earlier. So having a banana, personally, I like to have a little packet of almonds. So if I'm on the truck, we got a long call, I got a banana there, and I got almonds there. And I also sometimes will carry apples, but the problem that I've had with apples is they'll fall in the truck and get bruised really easily. So nuts and bananas are on this list. Great antioxidant value, great electrolyte value, good source of energy. Next, let's talk about eggs. Now we're progressing along. We just got a couple more, but again, if you go back, antioxidants we talk about protein. So these are all foods that are clean, and they also are one ingredient foods, right? I'm not talking about hamburger helper, or I'm not talking about something that has 14 or 15 or 16 different different ingredients in it. I didn't talk about power bars at all. Nuts, eggs, chicken, salmon, leafy green vegetables, darker berries, all these things provide a lot of these nutrients that we need to help us think better and to perform better. Eggs is on this list. Now, eggs have always been, last 20 or 30 years, I should say, they have been known to have this bad cholesterol with them, and they kind of gotten a bad name. Egg protein is one of the most complete protein sources that we can get besides breast milk. Eggs contain all the different crucial amino acids that we need to help promote recovery and muscle growth too, because they have that protein value. They also contain a lot of vitamin K, which is great for healthy bones and muscles and joint health. They also have choline, which is great for brain function. So eggs have a lot of value. You can also buy eggs that have been enhanced with omega-3s. We talked about the omega-3s when we addressed salmon, but the other thing you got to think about, and when obviously I address it right away, was everybody talks about cholesterol in eggs. Well, some recent studies show that egg eaters have a lower risk of heart disease than those that avoid eggs. There is more research being done as to why, but right now that's a great thing for us, and it gives us the green light for eggs. And we're talking about the whole thing, yolk and white here. So throw eggs onto your list. Start your day with some nice scrambled eggs, a banana possibly, throw some vegetables in there like spinach, and you got yourself a pretty good, breakfast to start off with. Next, let's talk about a good carb, sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes rich in vitamin A. They got vitamin C in them, which, are antioxidants that help us remove these free radicals, help us deal with the stress, help us with recovery. Sweet potatoes have also been linked to lower blood pressure or lowering blood pressure, which is important for us because, we die of strokes, we die of heart attacks in the fire service. They also contain potassium, iron, manganese. They got copper in it, which, again, all contributes to healthy bone and muscles. So we go back to this recovery. We go back to building muscle. We go back to antioxidants. All these foods have one or, if not, a combination of those components. Personally, sweet potatoes are really, really easy. You cook them just like regular potatoes. You can serve them on the side of your chicken and your vegetable, and there you got a very, very well-rounded, healthy meal for first responders. I also put oatmeal on this list, and hang with me, guys. There's only about 3 more things I want to talk about, 3 more foods. But oatmeal is another great source of carbohydrate because they have high fiber and whole grains. Now, we're not talking about the quick oats. So if you are at a firehouse that has quick oats, try to get, even the old-fashioned oats are a little bit better choice. Steel cut oats are the best because they have higher fiber and they have a lower glycemic response, which means that your glycemic index, your glycemic levels don't spike, your insulin levels don't spike. So it's a more consistent source of energy with that fiber in it. Again, it does have some good, the whole grains and which helps with lowering cholesterol levels and managing cholesterol levels, I should say. So oatmeal, and if in the steel cut form, there are a lot of different products out there, but just read the labels. Watch out. They can add some sugar to your oatmeals. And again, what I would do is add some berries, which we talked about earlier in the podcast, and why those are so valuable. So oatmeal is on this list. Low sugar, low sugar Greek yogurts. I have been a lot of firehouses, and I check out refrigerators often, and Greek yogurt is in there. But they're the Greek yogurts that add 20 grams of added sugar, and that is not good. The added sugar, sugar can cause a spike in our glycemic responses and can lead to inflammation. So what we're talking about is Greek yogurts that have lower sugar, and they have live cultures in them, which can help with digestive health. And they also have calcium in them, and they're a great source of protein actually as well. But the good bacteria that you get from yogurts can have, again, anti-inflammatory powers, which we talk about. Lowering inflammation in first responders is key to our health and to our stress management. Greek yogurt has been shown to do that. Again, look for these added sugars, avoid them if you can, and throw some berries in there. Add them to your breakfast. You can actually, I like to throw a little bit of Greek yogurt on top of my oatmeal. I'm a little bit nuts that way. I like to add and mix different things. But so Greek yogurt is the last one I wanted to talk about. I shouldn't say that. Greek yogurt is the 10th one on the list. And I do have a bonus one. I have an honorable mention, and this is tart cherries. And namely, the research I've been doing is on tart cherry juice. I've actually talked to some researchers at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee about using tart cherries after long, strenuous shifts and calls. And tart cherries can really help to bring the body back down to homeostasis. Sometimes your blood can get very acidic after these calls, after fire calls especially. There's a lot of research that's being going on about how our environment in fires and our just our response physiologically can lead to higher levels of acid within our system, and tart cherry juice can help to combat that. There will be a lot of research on it. Personally, I think it would be cool to do some research where you have these, an ounce of cherry juice after long calls, an ounce of cherry juice after shifts, and just see how that does with your blood lipid levels and with, your stress responses. So right now, tart cherries have been an honorable mention, and I believe in the next couple of years, we see how we as first responders can use tart cherries. If you're really interested, do some more research on it, and maybe start doing a shot or two of it during or after your calls or after your shifts, and see if that makes you feel a little bit better. But the research that I've found is that it's a great way to reduce muscle damage, and it could possibly bring the body back to homeostasis and the blood levels back to homeostasis a little bit quicker. So there's my list. There are 10, actually 11 foods that if you are not eating, you need to start eating. If you are a cook in a firehouse, think about these foods and how you can incorporate them into some meals. All of our FRF workouts actually include recipes that have a lot of these foods incorporated into them. Again, my role and my job with FRF and my goal with it is to provide you with great, usable, tangible resources. This is a list of 10 foods that you can start eating today. 11, actually, if you want to throw in the cherry juice. You can cook for your crew. You can cook for your family, because these are not only good for just first responders. They're good for athletes. They're good for kids. They're good for everybody. So please let me know what you think of this. Share this message on with others in the fire service. Our goal is to reduce fatalities, to reduce cancers, to reduce instances of controllable diseases within the fire service, and to make it a more healthy and better fire service, because we can better service our members. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. Aaron Zamzo, Fire Rescue Athlete Podcast. I greatly appreciate any and all support. Let me know what you think. Am I onto something or on something?
Thank you for listening to the Fire Rescue Athlete Podcast with your host, Aaron Zamzow. Please tune in again soon for more fitness tips for fire rescue athletes.